Watching News at Prime, let's bring you this now. The National Prosecuting Authority is urging the public to remain calm amid explosive allegations by KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi at the Madlanga Commission. In a statement, the National Prosecuting Authority head, Advocate Shamila Batohi, cautions against reaching any conclusions based on the revelations so far. Now, during the 3 days of testimony, General Mkhwanazi implicated a number of people, including politicians, business people, and high-ranking police officers. Let's talk now to legal analyst Modidima Mannya, who talks to us all the way from Limpopo this evening. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you very much for your time. Before we talk specifics, your general assessment of the 3 days on the stand by General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Some people, at least judging by social media, very, very enthused about what he had to say.
Yes, but only, ordinary people have got similar experiences at a local level. What General Mkhwanazi is talking about is what is happening at the higher echelons. Let me just give you an example. I reported a car stolen at Sunnyside police station. 2 days later, I got a call from a criminal that said to me, look, we found your car. You need to send us money to tow the car and bring it back to Pretoria. Clearly, and I know of a colleague who also had a similar experience. That's Sunnyside police station for you. Now, that is what ordinary people go through, criminally syndicated police station. Now, what General Mkhwanazi is talking about is what happens at a higher level. Of course, it's shocking because you don't expect people at that level to get involved in those type of things. It doesn't matter whether legally we can prove every allegation, but it simply says there's a complete erosion of ethical conduct at people occupying high public office.
Many people, or let me not say many people, at least the writings this weekend, they seem to suggest that, yes, indeed, General Mkhwanazi spoke with confidence. The manner in which he presented himself at the commission, it spoke volumes. This is someone who clearly is convincing and is not doubtful about what he is there to say. But there are those who are saying he is short on the evidence. Where is the evidence? Of course, he alluded to that evidence possibly being presented by others. Is that what we're going to have to wait for? Is that what Batohi perhaps is also trying to tell the public to wait for?
Oli, there are probably three parts of General Mkhwanazi's evidence. The one part is actually fact. And just to give you an example, the fact that the IMC existed, the fact that the task team was actually established at the behest of the task team, the IMC, Interministerial Committee. It is clear that the minister single-handedly disbanded or took a decision to disband. Mkhwanazi has indicated, and as he referred to WhatsApp messages and documents that are in the bundle, that is going to be difficult for anybody to refute unless you are alleging or suggesting that those documents are flawed. The second part, as I understood him, is that there are other people who will come and provide the actual detail of what he's talking about. So to a very great extent, he set up a framework.
Yeah.
The third part is Mkhwanazi's own personal opinions, which I don't think matter really. That's what he thinks. The commission will sift through fact and make findings based on fact and not necessarily his opinion. Of course, he's somewhat of an expert in policing, so his opinion is not wholly irrelevant. And I think people might be more worried about where he expressed his own emotion, about how angry he was, and that's irrelevant.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is there has to be evidence, and my understanding is that there are other people who are going to do that. I think where people might be confused is that the commission seems to be based entirely on what General Mkhwanazi said at his press conference. That was the trigger. And therefore, he was bound to be the first person to give a full explanation of what he's talking about, to direct the commission as well in terms of where it must look at.
Sure. Let's talk names now, and indeed, let's talk about some of the events that have taken place. You allude to the task team, the political killings task team, and the manner in which it is disbanded. I was just reading an article today. They were quoting Dr. Stembile Mbete, the political scientist, who says that the casual nature of the disbandment of this political killings task team, to her, clearly, it is something that is going to have to be answered to, and it leaves much to be desired. Is that what you are suggesting as well, that surely there's got to be a good enough reason for why a task team that was formed can just casually be dismissed like that?
Totally, it goes beyond that. It raises questions about the functionality of cabinet. IMC is an interministerial committee, so which means that cabinet itself, and that includes the president, took a conscious and deliberate decision to attend this matter in the manner of a task team. Now, the president, as we understand, seems to suggest that he got a report very recently, and he was very happy about the performance of this task team. But we also know that the minister is said to have said at a portfolio committee meeting that this decision to disband involved the president, or the president at least knew about it. Now, if it turns out that the interministerial committee was not even informed, that raises a very constitutional issue, and that is whether we can say we have a cabinet which in the Constitution is supposed to exercise executive authority over the Republic, when a single minister can just go out of his way to do this. But it also implicates the issue of the criminality that seems to be associated with the decision. I think Mkhwanazi has made it very clear. And I think somebody has to answer to that. Who is Ket Matala? Who is Mokgotsi to you? Why did a person who turns out to be a criminal receive a letter? How does a provincial commissioner of police receive such an important document from somebody who is completely unrelated to the functioning of the state? Those are very serious allegations that must be answered. I think Mkhwanazi has, in my view, has got some evidence that demonstrate where he got the letter to. Somebody must answer how that person got the letter from a minister.
Well, you actually go to the very next point I was headed. You have mentioned these figures and their alleged links to the suspended Minister of Police. As a legal mind, in what form should concrete evidence of Mkhunu's links with these underworld figures, if you want to call them that, and how weighty should that evidence be?
Well, firstly, I think to the extent that Mkhwanazi has now told us, a person has received that letter and has actually forwarded that letter to him. But there is some communication that suggests that, that task team that is harassing you is now disbanded. Now, surely somebody, and I think that is evidence of serious interference. And we must be told by the minister. I think we sometimes confuse this principle of innocent until proven guilty. The minister himself has got the obligation to rebut what Mkhwanazi has told us. He must tell us how these people received these letters. Then he can tell us more about the relationship.
Let's then talk about the evidence that will likely come from General Masemula. based on what Mkhwanazi has said, and you will hear in his evidence talking much in favor of the decision of the National Police Commissioner. He will talk in support of Dumisani Khumalo. This is the intelligence head who is saddled with legal issues right now. Is it a foregone conclusion, at least to your mind, that General Masemula, the National Police Commissioner, is going to talk in support and hopefully might present some evidence of what Mkhwanazi has already laid the foundation for?
You know, Koli, I'm afraid, and I feel for the National Commissioner. I think he probably is the person who's going to have to answer most of these difficult questions. I'm not sure whether General Mkhwanazi was talking in his favor or he was just putting what he thought or we think was in his favor. To give you an example, General Masemula suspended Lieutenant General Sibiya, supposedly for defying his instruction or not implementing it correctly, whatever the case is. Yeah. But we now know that General Sibiya says, I got an instruction from General Masemula. We now need to know why the dockets came back, and only after there was this hullabaloo did General Masemula send them back. We want to know what is the communication between the minister and General Masemula which led to this quagmire. So I think to a very great extent, General Masemula might have much to explain. I have read something, or I've seen an interview of a gentleman called, he is referred to as a security expert. He says, I sent a WhatsApp or a message to General Masemula warning him about Matala's criminal activities. One will want to know, General Masemula, you were warned that there's this criminal, what have you done about it? So I'm not sure whether he's in a better position in terms of what General Mkhwanazi has said. All I can say is that General Mkhwanazi has opened a Pandora's box. I wouldn't be surprised if General Masemula becomes vulnerable, if the president himself becomes vulnerable at the commission. All I can tell you now is that he's opened a Pandora's box.
Let's end the conversation on that Pandora's box theme and bring into the equation the former ministers of police. So at one point, Bheki is spoken about, and you can hear the clear dislike by Mkhwanazi of Bheki and the conduct, or perhaps the manner in which Bheki conducted himself in Mkhwanazi's view. And then there is the former minister, Nathi Mthethwa. Is there anything that was tangible by way of evidence that we can hold on to and say they should be subpoenaed to also come and answer for what has been said?
Yes, both of them. You know, and I think this is a chain of something very intriguing. Former Minister Nathi Mthethwa, according to Mkhwanazi, he had given him an unlawful instruction. You know, South Africans would say, whether rightly or wrongly, General Mkhwanazi is the National Commissioner we never had. Now we know that he was removed because he refused to obey an unlawful instruction. Remember, he went as far as testifying that he went to see former President Zuma. And he told him in his face that he's not going to carry out unlawful instructions. Now, if a National Police Commissioner is given unlawful instructions, including by the president, then there's a complete aberration of the Constitution. Go to Minister Bheki. I listened to his interview. He was praising General Mkhwanazi about his task team training and special forces training. But there we go. Now General Mkhwanazi is saying, look, this former minister was trying to subvert a process within the police, an internal process. Obviously, the minister was part of the system. He's got people he likes or people that he doesn't like. But I think if he gets from outside and seeks to exert external undue influence on the functionaries within, that is quite serious. It could actually border on criminality. But you must remember, Xoli, General Cele is that commissioner who was removed from office following a board of inquiry, is that commissioner who had an adverse public protector report against him. So you must expect that the public will always remember, and whether he's found guilty legally or not, but in the court of public opinion, he may not escape.
Yeah, indeed. And we do remember that quite well. Peggy Cele's two roles within the South African police. At one point, he becomes a national commissioner, and it is a building that is leased to Rue Shabangu's company that later comes back to bite him. And I think that gets him released, fired as the commissioner of the police, and then he becomes Minister of Police. Thank you very much for reminding us and taking us back in some instances. A really valuable conversation with Modidima Mannya, a legal expert. We look forward to what is going to be said tomorrow by the National Police Commissioner and how long might he take on the stand. Thank you very much for your time, sir, this evening.